not metal.
It has plastic but not metal.
All right, good morning everybody. Welcome to Science Saturday. Today we are doing data-driven marine debris cleanups. And I am here today with our amazing representatives from UVI and UVI/DPNR and DPNR and BIMAS. So, we are going to get started in just a moment. This morning we did a cleanup on Brewers Bay, and now we are learning all about it. Howard, take it away. Man with the microphone. You guys will be really excited that maybe you can't hear me as well today because Howard has the microphone, a real one.
Awesome. So Kitty's already done a wonderful job introducing the entire team. So everyone, again, my name is Howard Forbes Jr. I'm the St. Thomas coordinator for the Virgin Islands Marine Advisory Service. And as Kitty had indicated, we did a beach cleanup here on Brewers. Normally we do these cleanups from September to October through the International Coastal Cleanup. And basically it's a series of cleanups that happens throughout the world. And I have some data for you guys. So we have about 122 countries that participate in the International Coastal Cleanup. So this is a global initiative. And last year, or about every year in general, we have about 1 million participants that clean up different beaches and coastal areas around the world. So that's really, really amazing. Unfortunately, in terms of the amount of trash they pick up, it's about 23 million pounds of trash that volunteers pick up every year from our coastal habitats. So these cleanup efforts are really, really important. And so volunteers not only assist with the removal of the debris from the beaches, we also try to collect data. So we want to know what we're finding, the quantities, we want to know what we're finding, and again, how much. That information is really, really important because it gives us a snapshot in time of what types of trash is on our beaches, but it also tells us, it gives us more information about how we can move forward with specific legislative action to reduce the negative impacts of marine debris along our shorelines. So here we have our volunteers that are using the Ocean Conservancy data sheet to record some of the trash that they've collected from our beach cleanup. And if you notice, one of the really cool things we're doing with our cleanup is we're trying to be zero waste. So we're not using too many trash bags. We have a few, but we try to use buckets for our cleanup so we're not creating any additional trash. And then on my hand, I have a nice reusable glove. So again, we're not trying to use anything that's disposable because we don't want to be producing any additional garbage during our cleanup event. And then on my right, we have some other volunteers that are using the Clean Swell app. So this is free. It's available for both Android and iPhone users. It's free. And it's basically almost a one-to-one representation of the data card. Granted, there are a couple of items that are not on there on the app, but you can download it and you can simply record everything that you find during your cleanup. So if you found, as we did here, 6 plastic forks, you find the utensil item or the utensil button and you tap that icon 6 times to indicate that you found 6 plastic forks. And as we're doing here, we found 5 plastic straws. And so Zola is going to tap the plastic straw button. So 6 times because we found 6 plastic straws. Now, Kitty had mentioned this earlier. So one of the important things with this data is legislative action. So we recently had a bill that banned single-use plastic straws at retail restaurants. And so this was an effort to help reduce the effects the prevalence of seeing this type of debris on our coastlines. But when we look at our data, we want to try and pay attention to some of the things that do pop out that are usually the number 5 or the top 5 things that we find. Bottle caps are usually up there, along with plastic beverage bottles and glass bottles. So you can see here we have some plastic beverage bottles. We also have some glass bottles. So those are things that we generally find a lot of on our beaches.
Hey, look what we found.
Oh no.
Yes.
So because of the pandemic, we're now actually seeing a lot more of these surgical masks on our beaches. These, granted, yes, they're disposable, but they should not be used as litter or should not be counted as litter on our beaches. So we want to make sure that we properly dispose of our surgical masks if we're done with them. please throw them away in the appropriate receptacle. I found that. Yeah, that I don't know what that is.
Yeah. No, do what you need to get comfortable.
Great. All kinds of metal trash.
Food wrapper. Howard, did you see anything else interesting while we were doing our cleanup just now?
This is.
Yeah, so we were counting the amount of bottle caps that we find on our beaches. That may have been mentioned before, but there are bottle caps everywhere.
Tons, yeah.
All bottle caps.
Oh, gross.
As you pick up one, you find 500 more to take its place.
Yeah, and I think
over.
there's like a big misconception that, you know, because they're so small and they're metal that it's not going to be a problem, but they still are, you know, as debris, still a major issue. Even just one can have a significant impact on the environment, right? Glass bottle.
Yes, they are. So like Joe mentioned,
And a metal
so
bottle cap.
we're not specifically focusing on the large trash items. So yes, we want to make sure we get the glass beverage bottles and the plastic bottles off the beach, but it's the smaller things that also count too. So the cigarette butts, the plastic bottle caps. What also happens too is if these plastic items are left out in the sun for too long, they can actually become very brittle and start to break up or break down, depending on how you want to word it. But they break up into little smaller pieces, and that's really, really problematic. And so we have these little, we call them microplastics, and they're just everywhere. And so we want to make sure that plastics in particular, we get those off the beach so that they're not exposed to sunlight for too long where they can break down into smaller pieces.
Here's another one we see a lot of: cigarette butts.
Yes. So
Gross.
we do find a lot of cigarette butts.
And I think it's another misconception that cigarette butts will break down in the environment, but they also contain plastics in them, right?
Yes, their filter does contain some amount of plastics within them.
And carcinogens.
Nasty chemicals that make you sick.
Right.
Yeah.
But the moral of the story is I think people throw them away thinking they'll just break down, and they don't. They stay around. I mean, we can find cigarette butts years and years after. So, you know, I think that's another part. Plastic lid. Yeah, cap. Yeah.
Yep. So when we do our normal presentations to school groups, we try to provide information about what is trash or what is marine debris versus what is not marine debris. So if you do a beach cleanup on a typical beach, you'll probably find seaweed. It might be unsightly, yes, but seaweed is not marine debris. So you can leave that behind, along with seashells, eggshells. If you find bones, chicken bones, those are perfectly fine. Those will degrade over time. Banana peels. But if you do find things like what we're seeing here, plastics, and again, if you look, you know, most of what we're finding, it's plastics.
Oh, a spider.
And spiders too.
Not marine debris.
Not gonna
No.
throw you away.
So again, we want to make sure that we get this type of debris off of our beaches, because right behind Kitty is the beach, is the ocean. And that is where we do not want the trash to end up.
That was my dramatic turn. And I did not pull your microphone off.
Yeah,
You did that very abruptly, so.
I did.
you want to get a shot of all these? Like, you can see just
Yeah.
how many plastic or metal bottle caps we picked up off the beach, and this isn't even close to all of them. But like, you see that, you know, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You know, probably in excess of 30. This isn't even all the bottle caps we picked up, and this isn't even counting all of them that are over there. And this is what we were cleaning up for. How long were we cleaning up before the?
We did a
30
30-minute
minutes.
cleanup to collect all that. So that's really important. You know, within 30 minutes, we found all of this. And I just want to keep looking at those straws because that is really annoying. As one of the people who sat in the legislature and testified on behalf of banning these, they're gross. That's no bueno.
And I think, you know, and we did this and we collected all this in 30 minutes. You know, it's not like it's taking that much time to do. I mean, we came out here, we did it, and we're sorting through now. And normally we'd be even faster, right? Because normally we do this sorting as we're collecting. And then it goes really fast.
Yep. So I mean, you don't have to spend an entire day, let alone an entire hour on a beach picking up garbage. You can spend 10, 20 minutes, just patrol an area, or even in the area where you are sitting, enjoying the beach. You know, if you happen to see garbage with you, just if you have a trash bag or a bucket like we do, make sure you pick up that garbage. And if you download the CleanSwell app, you can record what you find. And that really goes a long way. Part of the reason is that we want to make sure that the data that we have that represents or lets us know what types of trash is found on our beaches, we want to make sure that data is specific to the Virgin Islands. It's good to have data that tells us trash all over the world, but if we want to make a change here in the Virgin Islands, it's good to know what's on our beaches, not on the beaches in California, or not that I have anything against California. But we want to make sure we have data specific to the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Their trash is different.
Their trash is definitely
We
different.
want to know what our issues are
Exactly.
and how we can be better.
Exactly.
You can also use data to look at how trash accumulates differently across different beaches. And then that could help you decide maybe locations where you'd want to add more dumpsters or maybe specific signs to target specific kinds of trash. So today we're at Brewers Beach, and I think the ICC cleanups have been going on here for, 5 years, Howard?
So we have data that goes back to 1986 or 8. So it's about a little over 30 years of data for the entire U.S. Virgin Islands. Brewers specifically has been clean for consistently about 5 to 10 years. So we have a good amount of data to let us know what types of trash we've been finding over the years.
Yeah.
And
if you look at the data specifically for Brewers Bay, the 4 most commonly found items that we have here are caps from beverage bottles, cigarette butts, and then I think it's glass and plastic beverage bottles.
Correct, yes.
Right, so here it's a lot of land-based marine debris. These are marine debris items that are coming from people on the land side, but if they're not cleaned up or picked up, they make their way into the ocean, and they can cause a lot of harm in a lot of different ways once they're there.
So, Allie, I think that this is a really interesting point that you bring up about trash coming from different sources depending on where you are. And I think that a lot of people sometimes have misconceptions about where trash comes from. Most people assume that all marine debris is from beachgoers directly leaving their trash there. And sometimes that is true, absolutely. I did not do this on purpose, but in the frame of your shot behind you, there is a closed food truck van. And I think that this is one of the areas that we can look at for helping these businesses to be better stewards of the environment. And so from you guys, what do you think is something that we could do to help these businesses? Howard.
Thank you, Kitty.
You're welcome.
So like Ali had mentioned, one of the things that we've noticed is that on Brewers specifically, there are 2 waste bins or 2 trash bins. If we were to somehow maybe put additional trash bins along the beach, perhaps maybe at the food trucks where people tend to congregate or hang out in groups, having those trash bins there would maybe help to reduce littering behavior. So having more trash bins, people will not be super lazy and they'll feel more inclined to walk to the nearest trash bin that isn't too far away and dispose of their trash properly.
I think maybe having larger trash bins as well. Something that I noticed as we were doing our 30-minute cleanup this morning, I watched Allie pick up about 20 straws in one area right next to a trash can. And so chances are those are people who thought that they were disposing of their trash properly. These are not people who are purposefully, doing things that are bad to the environment. But if you're sitting down enjoying a beverage and you drop your cup behind you and it's over full or it's windy, that could then blow out of the trash bin. So these are a lot of issues that we're facing. Does anybody have another item specific to Brewers that they want to talk about?
There's got tobacco plastic, tobacco, or
It's a car freshener.
oh, is that what that is?
That's
It's a car freshener.
I'm just holding one.
But yes, there is a lot of trash that comes from cigarettes and other type of smoking things that are often plastic. So that is a really good point. People smoke a cigarette, as we were talking about earlier, or the plastic wrappers that the things that I don't know the names of come in. Black and Milds, I think they're called. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hashtag not a smoker. So one other thing that I wanted you guys to kind of talk with us about today is we have some marine debris professionals in our midst today who have spent years doing cleanups. So I wanted to go around and hear what is the strangest and or grossest thing you've ever found at a cleanup. And we're gonna start with Joe, because I think I know your answer, because I made you pick it up for grossest.
Okay, I guess the thing that Kitty's talking about is we found a plastic bag that looked like it had a bunch of like old food in it or something. It was up on this hill, so we had to crawl through these thorns to get it. And as I'm reaching up and I'm pulling it down, I realized that it's actually a plastic bag that's encompassing a diaper, a used diaper. So as I pull it down, it kind of starts to fall apart, and I just kind of quickly got it into the bucket, and that's all that we're going to talk about that point.
What about most interesting? Do you have anything that you want to talk about there?
Most interesting? Well, one of my favorite cleanups that we actually do is less so of a beach cleanup as much of the Great Mangrove Cleanup. And
Nice plug, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when we're doing the Great Mangrove Cleanup, we're getting out into kayaks and we're cleaning up the mangroves in Steer in the St. Thomas East End Reserves. And every year I try and bring back the biggest thing that I could possibly bring back with a kayak. The first year I brought back a derelict dinghy, and then the second year I brought back a piece of like floating dock that was full of water.
Yes. That was heavy. It was pulled out with a truck. And Joe.
But we got it emptied out and everything. So I always try and get we try and get all the little things out of one area as possible, but I always try on my way back and bring one giant thing. So those are my favorites.
Awesome. Maggie, what you got?
I don't know. Well, from the St. Croix Great Mangrove Cleanups, one of the weirdest things that was found was a plastic doll hand.
Ooh.
It's a little weird and creepy.
Cursed.
Pieces of dolls are always
Yeah.
creepy. It's like, oh, what's this head doing?
And then we also found quite a good amount of, I think it was 3 abandoned crab traps, which is also another source of marine debris, is derelict fishing gear and stuff that actually isn't a land-based source item. It actually comes from the ocean, but is still considered debris.
Cool. Howard, I know you got some good ones.
I do. So what's funny about this one is I think this actually tells a little bit of a story. So there was a cleanup that happened on Hassel Island, and a combination of a stiletto heel, a pregnancy test, and a vial of blood.
Ah!
Maybe not in that specific order, but those 3 items
Howard, we
is
lost-
what
we
we
lost-
found.
Saturday for kids.
We lost a few viewers on that one, bro.
You asked for the most weirdest thing, and
I
that
know.
is
I know,
weird.
that is weird.
Oh man.
But if we
Oh,
want to
man.
keep it more PG-13, we did find a refrigerator on Brewers Bay, maybe about 2 years ago. That's
After
not.
the storms?
No, this was not after this. This was before the storms.
Okay.
That's not
Which was
something
more
that.
than 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Math, Mr. Scientist.
Yeah, that's the type of trash that you typically don't expect to find on a beach. You're not quite sure how it got there. But yeah, a refrigerator.
All right, Allie
You
with
could
the
probably pass
comb.
the
What do you got?
microphone.
Most surprising thing?
Probably, yeah, just
I don't know. I'm always surprised that we find shoes. I think that like every time we do a cleanup, we find at least one shoe, which baffles me
Is
because
it always an odd number of shoes?
you know I would say today it was we found one shoe. But yeah, we've done Great Mangrove cleanups before and found like 10, 20 plus individual shoes. So that always surprises me because I don't know how you could lose
People
those.
are walking home with one
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I've done that before. Flip-flop blowout, but usually the broken one is in my purse. All right.
I think the most interesting thing we found during a cleanup was actually at Hassel Island, and it was a little French letter in a pill bottle. So that was pretty
Whoa.
Oh,
French
like
letter
a-
in a pill bottle. Crazy.
like a C message, like a message in a bottle kind of format. Did you figure out what it said?
No.
No
Maybe it was a
translation.
love letter.
Maybe it was.
Well, I've had my fair share of cleanups, and I think one of the weirdest things that I've ever found was it was a cleanup pretty soon after the 2017 hurricane season in St. John with the Get Trashed St. John group who goes out and gets trash once a month. And I found a very poor looking kind of porcelain Santa Claus doll that looked like it should be in a horror movie. And then a woman came running up to me crying and grabbed it. And apparently it was hers, and she lived on a sailboat, and all of her belongings had been destroyed, and this Santa Claus doll was hers, and it was not creepy and gross when she lost it. It had just been months since it had been lost on her boat. So that was a really interesting story that started creepy and ended up really touching. I've also found a lot of drug paraphernalia and other such things.
So I think that's a good transition to kind of, and Howard, you would know this a lot more, times of the year and events that have caused an uptick in marine debris. So I know we have the chili cook-off here every year. And, you know, the hurricanes would probably cause an increase in marine debris. What are some of the events where you see afterwards, you really see a big change?
So usually events where there's a large gathering of people all in one spot, that's where we tend to find a lot of debris. And it's usually a lot of plastic related items. So in some instances we find those little plastic, they're not cups, they're little serving
Ramekins.
the little plastic ramekins, yeah.
I love that word.
Find a lot of those. Straws are definitely up there. Hey, like
Ramekin.
those, yeah.
That is a plastic ramekin.
The little plastic spoons that go with those too, we find a lot of those. Hurricanes are definitely another contributor to where we find a lot of debris from. So if you think about, along the roadsides, there's a lot of debris, and the hurricanes are now, or when it rains really heavily, that debris can now wash downhill, and everything eventually leads to the ocean. So if we have,
Just like Finding Nemo
just
said.
like Nemo, so everything from uphill will eventually wash downhill, where it makes its way onto the beach and can eventually end up in our ocean.
So I think that that's a really important thing to remember is, back to my point about people assume that trash on the beach comes from people who are trashing the beach. If you live all the way up there on the mountain, well, not there because there aren't any houses there, but let's just pretend that there's not a tree blocking my view, all the way up there, and you're walking to your car one day and a bottle falls out of your car door, and you think to yourself, I'll pick it up when I get home. Because you're in your driveway and you're all the way up there, no mountains that way, all the way up on top of the mountain. But while you are out and about, there's a rainstorm and it washes down and it goes down the gut and it lands in our bucket. So that's something where you're nowhere near the beach, you're nowhere near the ocean, and you might see it and actively think that you're going to pick it up soon. But before you can, the forces of nature, like rain and gravity and wind, take it away from you and it becomes marine debris. So something else that I really wanted to talk about today, a little bit more positive, is solutions. What can we do? What can we do about this? So right now we're doing a cleanup and we are cleaning and removing this debris from the beach. But something that I love to talk about when I'm with school groups is how can we make it so that this never existed in the first place? So I'm not wearing a glove right now because I'm just holding my phone. So I'm just gonna point. Let's say one of these plastic bottles, or let's say, I'm sure we have plenty of single-use plastic water bottles in here. How do we make that not exist? We have a great example right here because Howard has his water bottle with him.
I have Savannah. Savannah's water bottle.
Mine's is in my backpack.
But we all
Because
brought-
Howard is standing right in front of Joe/Savannah's water bottle. So this is the solution right here. This is really easy. We've got some more back there. So we have all come to the beach today with reusable beverage bottles that we can use forever and ever. Another one right back here. Right now it has supplies in it, but reusable bags. By using a reusable bag, you never have to use a plastic bag. Now, this is something interesting and where data from beach cleanups gets a little bit iffy, me, the non-scientist. People often ask why there are not more plastic bags in our data, because honestly, we don't find very many plastic shopping bags. But the entire time that I've been recording, I don't think that anybody can see it, there is a plastic bag blowing around behind us, which I will get when we leave. But they are so light that they don't stay still long enough for us to pick them up. These are all relatively heavy items, you know, even Joe's collection of bottle caps that he's collecting to do a quick brand audit. These are heavy enough that they're not going to blow away in the wind. So these plastic bags are blowing away. Another solution, nice transition, Howard. What do you
Ta-da.
got there?
So these are mesh produce bags. So these are a wonderful alternative to the plastic bags that you put your produce in when you go shopping at the grocery store. So when you go to the grocery store and you want to buy tomatoes, it would be good not to buy the ones that come pre-packaged in plastic. Buy the ones that are loose, and you can easily store them in this wonderful bag. It's reusable. You don't throw this away. And if it ever gets stained, I wash mine in the sink. You can wash it in the washing machine. You can wash it and then dry it.
in the washing machine.
Yep, and that's just to get whatever stains are out. These we were able to get from Amazon, and these are a great way to incentivize volunteers to come out to your cleanup. Of course, when we don't have a global pandemic, but this is a really, really good alternative, and it's a good conversation piece when you go grocery shopping and people see you walking with this bag. Then people start asking, hey, where did you get that bag? And it starts a conversation, and eventually people pick up on the trend and more people start using these bags.
Awesome. So while we're talking about incentivizing cleanups, and that kind of brings me on to positive things happening in the community and things that we can do. I know you brought a really fun activity that we're going to link to the video when I get home. What do we got?
Ta-da! So this is mostly Allie's handiwork.
And Zola
And well, yeah,
It
to
was a
some
group
extent.
effort.
Group effort.
That was a lot of camera changes.
I did none of it.
Joe did none of it.
So NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they have a book it's like an activity book that has a lot of different marine debris activities in it. And so what our team did is we took some of those activities and we made them specific to the Virgin Islands. So it incorporates a lot of the data that we find here in the territory.
Hey, look, Joe, it's a diaper.
Aha, this was made just for you. So that same activity that we spoke about, trying to get people to understand what exactly is trash and what things are not trash. We also have some word searches, some word finds. This is incorporated from our Great Mangrove Cleanup. So again, we're encompassing some of the data that we've collected over the years. There's some really cool coloring pages. I mean, it's a really fun activity book. And like Kitty said, not that. So this activity book will be linked in the comments below. So please make sure that you check out that activity book. It's free to download. It's also available on our VIMAS website. And just a plug, we're trying to make another book like this, but it's focusing on storms for our USVI Storm Strong program.
What you guys learned all about last month
Peg.
when we had Howard and Allie
Yeah.
Yep.
doing those really fun
Yeah, so
activities.
if you're sitting at home and you're bored, you're looking for something to do and keep busy, this is a great way for you to keep learning about marine debris and what marine debris looks like in our territory, and there are even some suggestions for things that you can do about it in that book.
Awesome.
Yep. All right, and then last but not least, I also have here, so the data that we collect through these cleanups from the months of September to about November. that data goes into this wonderful book that's put together by the Ocean Conservancy. And so this book pretty much gives you a snapshot of all the data that's been collected from every participating country. And remember, there's 122 participating countries that participate in this cleanup initiative. And so you can see here, these are the top 10 items that are found globally. So cigarette butts is usually up there. So I'd say about 6 million cigarette butts. That's a lot of cigarette butts. And then we have food wrappers just under that. Now we find straws, now our utensils. But you see, the thing is, our data for the USVI is a little different because we aren't finding food wrappers in that high of an abundance here on our beaches. We do find them, but plastic beverage bottles and bottle caps are usually what we find the most of. And I believe this book is available for download on the Ocean Conservancy's website. Towards the end of the book, they do give you a brief snapshot of the data that's been collected from each country. The U.S. Virgin Islands is in here. Of course, we are right here, U.S. Virgin Islands. And you can see in this row all of the information that's been collected for the U.S. Virgin Islands during 2019 when we did our cleanups.
All right. Well, we've been talking for 30 minutes. So, you guys, how's the sorting going? Are we almost done?
Not even close.
Oh, man. All right.
In terms of, I mean, today we've seen so many metal bottle caps. I mean, we're not even,
plastic ones, too.
and plastic. We're not even close to done yet. So,
Well, while you guys are going, I see that your bucket is almost full. What I want to do is one other piece of data collection, and see Howard is ready with his scale. In addition to counting and sorting everything, we also get a weight of the trash collected. So, Howard, you ready to weigh this? Do you think we can do this sitting down?
no way.
This is gonna be
So, we have our buckets, and we weighed an empty one first so that we know that the empty bucket weighed 1 pound. And we are at, I can't see with my glasses, we're at 8 pounds, I think. Are we in consensus?
Yeah, 8 pounds.
8 pounds. So that is 7 pounds of trash collected already and sorted. You guys want to get a weight on this guy real quick to see where we are?
Yeah.
All right.
I hope we win.
This is also another thing that we do to incentivize volunteers is we try to award prizes based on who picks up the most or the heaviest amount of trash.
How much is it?
Oh man, we're just under at, it looks like 7.
So we're
So
tied.
you've got 6.
No. That's okay.
We're not done
We
yet.
got more.
We're not done yet.
We're
and
doing all our heaviest stuff
We've
first.
got a lot of glass bottles there. All right, guys. So, do we have any closing words we want before we leave everybody today?
I want to say that everybody who is here, we're all part of a team who's working on a new effort in the territory, which is, I'm really excited about it. I think it's really cool. It's called the Marine Debris Action Plan. And so this is one way that we are coming together as a community. We're going to try to bring in some local key players and stakeholders to create a plan to tackle marine debris across the territory. And we think that this is really an important next step because right now there's lots of people who are doing lots of different things to handle marine debris here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, but we need, as a territory, an organized effort. We all have to work together to tackle this marine debris problem if we're going to make a difference going forward. So I want to plug that Marine Debris Action Plan, and you guys, I'm sure if you follow us on social media or if you're looking at the VIMAS page or CZM, you'll be hearing about and seeing more about that plan going forward. And if you're interested in getting involved with that, I encourage you to reach out to us. And Howard, what's a good way that they can get in contact with us for that?
So you can follow us on social media. Either of our Facebook pages would be fine. So you can follow the DPNR Facebook page. There's also the Center for Marine and Environmental Studies' Facebook page. or you can log on to our website, vimas, vimas.uvi.edu.
Yeah, and there's contact information on the bottom of that website as well.
Exactly. Yeah. But Ali did a really good job summarizing the Marine Debris Action Plan. In terms of closing remarks, the only thing I would add is we really have to work together to address this problem of marine debris. And so everybody can pitch in and do a little 5-minute cleanup. Make sure you download the Clean Swell app. And you can do a cleanup at home. You can do a cleanup where you live. You can come to the beach if you're going to spend some time relaxing. Just spend a couple minutes, do a little cleanup, get your data, and you can send it to us, and we'll make sure we catalog it with our inventory of other data that we've been collecting.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much. I'm really excited to see the final data from today and the result of the great bottle cap battle of July 2020. Oh my goodness. I'm thinking it's Corona.
It might be.
That was not a joke. All right. Well, we'll go to me for just a second. Thank everyone for coming in. Oh, I get the mic too.
Special treatment.
For my sign off. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you all for tuning in today and for continuing to watch our virtual Science Saturdays. It's really great having you all here with us virtually every month. Stay tuned for next month, August. I think, I don't want to make any promises. We are going to be doing our first St. Croix Science Saturday. So as we continue to count this trash and get everything entered, remember, refuse, reduce, and reuse. That is how we minimize our impact on the environment. And I'm going to go chase down that plastic bag that I saw blowing around in the background. Everyone, have a wonderful day.